What is good, people? Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be cracking on the progress on the Mark II Golf again. If you saw the last episode, we managed to get the back end lowered. We put a couple of bits on, steering wheel, test fitted some seats, heck blend, loads of other stuff. Today is the serious time because we're going to be overhauling the entire rear braking system. Now let's jack up the car, open the bonnet, and we'll explain to you why. If you enjoy these videos, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. Story time. So when we first picked up this car and it failed on the MOT items, I set about fixing the near side track rod end and the near side rear wheel bearing. Now when we took the wheel bearing off, we was greeted by this abomination. Hard line all the way in. So at the front, brake pipes, you've got two brake pipes that come off the master cylinder, flow across the bulkhead, and then go into two splitters, one there and another thing comes just there. One of each splitter goes back to the rear wheels. The problem with it is although they've ran brand new copper lines, which you will see just there, they've hardlined it all the way across. So at no point does this braking system have flexible pipes at the rear. So when you go over a speed hump and the rear axle is flexing, that brake pipe is just pulling on the caliper every time. It's the most stupid design I've ever seen somebody mess around with. But it is what it is. It has resulted in me spending over £200. So what we have is brand new discs, brand new pads. We have a new set of bearings for the rear. We have got handbrake cables. We have got brake pipes. We've got braided lines. We have got a ton of parts, and we're going to get them all fitted in today's video. Discs and bearings are built on this side. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll probably tackle all of the brake pipes, brake bias valves, flexes and everything else on another day. Once I've disassembled the brake pipes, the car is rendered undrivable for the foreseeable repair future. So we'll do the other side, put the bearings on, and then we'll tackle the rest tomorrow. The next day, we've got two pipes that come off the master cylinder. So we've got one here and then just one directly behind. One pipe goes into a splitter which feeds one front, one rear, and then the other one goes into the other splitter which feeds the other front and the other rear. Now how I'm going to do it, I'm going to simplify the system a little bit. What we're going to do is use one line to split off to two fronts, and then we're going to use one line and then send it all the way to the back using this. So what this is a bias valve. Now when you're deleting, these are commonly used on sort of race cars to kind of dial in the braking force on the rear. The handy thing about those are, on Mark 2s, Mark 3s, potentially Mark 1s, they have a load compensating valve which sits on the rear axle somewhere. Now when the car is fully loaded, it will allow more braking pressure to go to the rear. Now this car is going to be lowered, so often it messes up anyway, and most of the time they're seized. So I thought I would run a bias valve and then pretty much control it myself. If the rears lock up, kind of loosen it off a little bit, just so there's less braking force to go to the rear. How they've done it, now we've got a better view of the underneath of the car. They've pretty much ran a hard line all the way across, had it split off, go over, and then straight hard lined into the caliper. Not a great design, and it's quite dangerous if I'm honest. That's probably why I've not fancied driving it too much. So we've pretty much finished all on the front end. The only problem is we've got a slight leak going on the import, but at the minute it's not, I mean it's critical obviously, but I feel like if I plumb the rest of the brakes in, then all we have to do is really get stuck on that side. What we've done underneath, we've utilised the existing copper line because these don't rust. They're just a little bit dirty, but they're already routed, so I may as well utilize this. And then I've disconnected it from here. I'm going to have to put a different fitting on because the splitter won't fit on otherwise, so I need one of these on the other end. So the splitter is going to be there, and we need to get to that hole, which is where the flexible pipe will be, and then just pretty much run a small line to that one. We have now got the splitter on from the front end, split off to the other side, and then we've built this small line, put ourselves a little clip in, and then it's going straight into the rear axle. Managed to run the hard pipe all the way over the rear axle and then into the braided line, so it just comes up out here and then clips in there and then straight in. That is pretty much how it's supposed to be. Just allows that little bit of flex. It's going so well because we've not checked for leaks yet. Once we've pressurized the system and we operate the brake, then we'll find some leaks, but I'm expecting there to be some leaks here and there. We've got enough piping to kind of redo the pipes that we may not have used, we may not have done very well.
1 winner later.
Good afternoon people, it's the next day. We're going to be making a start on the offside braking system. I've already measured the kind of across the axle up to the flexible pipe, as you can see just here, and then bolt this up, bend it to where I want to, and then if it's too long then I just make my cuts. Just an update on the braking system. We have now ran all the way up to the join that splits off into the flexi, and then it goes across the rear axle and then just joins into the braided line just there, and then on this side goes over, spins around there, goes into the flexor, and then goes up through the rear axle, and then can you see it? Nope. And then just there on the braided line. We've just encountered a little problem. When I'm fitting the pads, the carrier's touching the disc and I'm very stumped. Some people online have said the bearing is too tight, but I made sure when I was tightening it up, the thrust washer has a little bit of play. You don't really want to tighten it too much. So it can't be that. The only two things I can think of it might be is because it's a patterned caliper and a patterned carrier and a patterned disc, maybe they're not all agreeing with each other and the offset's slightly off. The Corrado and Mark II GTI both the same, the offset is no difference. That's the only thing I could have thought of. The next thing is, even if the bearing wasn't seated correctly, there'd be no reason for it to be pushed further into the axle, because once you've hit the stop you can't physically go anymore. So in my head I can't see how that would work. But either way, all of the rear braking system is now complete. I'm very happy with that. It looks pretty tidy if I say so myself. Just need to go to the front now and figure out why we're getting that small leak, but it might just be swapping out a fitting and seeing how it goes.
Later.
You might be wondering, why are you in a footwell? Well, if people assembled cars properly, I wouldn't be here, people. So as you know, the brake pedal is sitting a lot further out than the other two pedals are. Now I've just been underneath and I've figured out why. Up there you've got that nut and the threaded bar. So the threaded bar, the more you thread inwards, the further back the brake pedal goes. Now that threaded bar was only just catching, so had that have gave way, I'd have completely lost my entire brakes, which is reassuring. Why do I buy these cars and put myself in this? The reason why I'm in here in the first place is because we're not getting any brake fluid for some reason. We've filled it all the way to the top. Overnight we've checked if there's any leaks, everything seems good, and I've just had the girlfriend in the car pumping the brakes and I've got nothing out of the rear caliper. Not sure why, but I thought if I tackle this first, then at least I know the brake pedal is good. I think I've found a reason why no fluid is coming out the back. So the only thing in my head I could have thought of was blocked or the master cylinder is dead. I undid the front bleed nipple on the front right caliper and the oil and the fluid is leaking out. So I know it can't be the master cylinder. What it is the bias valve. Absolute crap cheap eBay. So this is the valve strip down. As you can see, we've got in and then out. So I've poured fluid into the adjuster section all the way to the top to see if it'd leak out of any of the crevices, which it doesn't. And then we put fluid on the in port, and as you can tell, there's no oil leaking out, there's no fluid leaking out, which means that there is nothing inside that transfers the fluid from in to out. What we have to do now, that pipe that you can see leaking, we need to connect it to that one, but they're both not with compatible threads, we will say. What we do need is this. So what we're going to do is cut this section. Well, we pretty much have to cut both because we've changed the ends of that one, so we need to redo it and then redo that side. We're just going to connect it straight up and just see how it goes. One positive I am drawing from this, we have sorted the brake pedal. That looks how it's pretty much supposed to, so I'm very happy with that. Everything's on, everything's been fitted. There are a few little things we need to tweak, but I don't feel like dragging the vlog out any longer. I want to get them done off camera, and I want to make a start on some fun stuff, which is something good to look forward to for the next week episode. We have a problem with the carriers hitting the disc. For the time being, I just sanded the mounting face just down a little bit, just to bring myself a little bit of clearance, which has worked. However, what we've found now is the right side spins okay, left side is spinning quite rough, and I think what's happening is because the pad is not fully seated bang on straight in conjunction with the carrier and the disc, it's kind of grabbing a little bit. The other problem we have is the brakes aren't 100%. Now obviously the pads will still need bedding in, and I still need to fully bleed the system. It's still probably got a bit of air in, so we're going to do that off camera. We've ordered some brake fluids, was running quite low. Don't know where it's gone now, but we've got to sort of add about 200 mil left, which means off camera I'll get all of those sorted. But the car now brakes, drives and stops, not 100%, but it means I can nip it around the block, I can take it outside, I can do things, I can film other stuff. So that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to start filming next week's vlog, and then the week after that, just to get ahead of the videos, and then maybe spend some time doing them brakes. Make sure to give the video a like and subscribe, especially for the Mark II. If you're excited, let me know. We have got some pretty cool parts just sitting behind us now that I'm sure you guys will enjoy. You will enjoy it. Every Sunday 7 PM guys, make sure you subscribed, and we will see you next week. Peace.